Oh man, this is the big one. It's really been all leading up to this. I'm recording this opening after I've done my go through of everything you're gonna see in this video, and good God, this has really escalated like big time. As you can tell, I'm kind of losing my voice. I covered so much. Alan put out his statement finally. I was hoping it was gonna be something, and oh boy, 32 pages. This man brought screenshots, and he goes after a lot of the bullet points that I wanted to see in the argument. But not only did Alan put his statement out that kind of paints his whole situation in a better light, we're going to get into that. And in the aftermath of Alan putting out this statement, Smash World Tour themselves put up another follow-up statement to this. Not to mention everybody involved in the whole situation is taking to Twitter and giving their side of it all. They're counter-arguing what Alan says in his statement. You've got tournament organizers coming forth giving their side of the story. It is wild how much this has blown up. I am legit speechless, really, in all honesty. Not because I'm losing my voice, but whenever I just made that one initial video of, hey guys, guess what happened? I did not see it going this way. You've got like people are getting threatened. Alan had to relocate his family because of threats and doxing. It's just nuts how big this has gotten. At least within the gaming community. I imagine this isn't going to be on national news or anything, but we got to get into this. I apologize for how long this video is going to be. I haven't edited it all yet, but I imagine this is going to be a long one, considering I've been talking and reading about this for about 5 hours now. This is the big one. Unless an ultimate giant bombshell comes out after this, but so far, this is the big one. Let's get into it. Like I said, I've read this twice now, and I've kind of gone through and put like little highlights and what I think is the important part. But the other issue with this is I've also been working on a Google Doc that I've been like putting quotes and like little bullet points into. But I don't want this whole video to just be me reading my bullet points. Not to mention it's mainly just me restating stuff that I've just highlighted in here. So let's just get into it, man. This is wild. Okay, so Alan, my statement. I am no longer CEO of Panda. I will no longer be a part of the Smash community. I do not wish to return. The community deserves the truth, and I'm not afraid to call out the names I have to. The private information of myself and members of Panda have been leaked online. This has gone too far. This is the big kicker, though. I'm surprised I don't have this highlighted, though. This is just a giant he said, she said thing, so it's hard to take anyone's particular stance. So we're going to go through this. Maybe we might go through Smash World Tour's follow-up statement to this, but then we got to go through Twitter feeds because there are specific individuals just throwing out claims that shoot a lot of these statements down. We're in for a ride, kids. This is pretty important here. The events and claims that I will be making are true. Some have evidence, some do not, as most of this is verbal conversations. And that is a big thing. It's like if you want your argument to stick, you got to get it in writing. And you could say like, well, Evan, how did they know this was all gonna blow up? Well, it's mentioned way later into this that they always saw this as a potential thing happening if Smash World Tour ever went down, that people would be coming after Panda. So I don't know, man. If I was this paranoid that like at any moment the ship could sink, I would be having like recordings of phone calls, screenshotting every email, just securing all my bases. But this is a 32-page thing. It's got screenshots and everything. It's no like Mick Gordon like grocery list receipt type deal, but Alan's put some work into this. I'll give him way more credit than I did in the last video on what his response was gonna be. So let's just get into this. I've said that 10 times now, but like my brain is scrambled with all the reading I've been doing. I've been like going through it piece by piece over the day, and I finally sat down and just went through it twice. So here he's apologizing to Panda for how this all blew out of the water and why it took him so long to respond to it. So Smash World Tour, here we go. So they talk about how back in 2018, they're starting their negotiations with Nintendo. And then he knows this one dude named Justin, owner of Super Smash Con, and how he's one of the first ever tournament organizers he ever reached out to with Panda because he respects them. But then later on in Video Game Boot Camp, that's what VGBC is. So he hears that 3 months after he's getting everything set up with Nintendo, Video Game Boot Camp is starting the Smash World Tour, and that Justin's a part of finding it, but they don't talk to Nintendo about it. Which, if you've seen the last ones, you know how that blew up, that they didn't get Nintendo's permission on it. Nintendo caught wind before launch, and Smash World Tournament leadership was explicitly told to wait until they have the approval to announce it in 2020. They knew about it, and they launch anyways, aware of the consequences. And this right here is kind of where he spills how he thinks the thought process behind this goes. Smash World Tournament does not get shut down. Video Game Boot Camp gets their own circuit without the years of negotiation with Nintendo. Smash World Tournament uses the threat of social media backlash against Nintendo to pressure Nintendo into giving them a license. Smash World Tournament gets shut down by Nintendo, and now video game boot camp is the martyr of the community due to Nintendo. Then the community will rally behind their other events to support them. Pretty straightforward logic. Video game boot camp wins no matter what. That's his logic behind it, that they're purposely trying to get themselves shut down to garner support against Nintendo. Let's just get to the recap. I feel like I should have just started with this. So Smash World Tournament leadership has intimate knowledge that Nintendo was working on an officially licensed circuit with Panda months before launching. They were told to wait for approval but announced anyways, and knowingly did multiple things that has prevented Nintendo from issuing licenses to events before. So we skip forward to 2022 to where in their own statement Smash World Tournament says they're having positive talks with Nintendo and they're trying to get a partnership with Nintendo. He goes on to say that it takes at least 3 years to get a license, and that's just for North America on its own, but they're a worldwide circuit, so them trying to get a license within a year sounds absolutely ridiculous. And this is the big one that Nintendo also talked about in their first and only statement they've released so far. Basically what he's trying to say is that Smash World Tour shut their own event down, and that both him and Nintendo were surprised when they heard of this, because Nintendo gave them the green light that they could continue operating their event without a license, even though in their own statement they were told verbally by a Nintendo representative that they're okay, but then they get an email later from Nintendo saying that unlicensed events are a no-go in the future, that kind of thing, and that there's a whole new age of how we're doing shit now. And so they take the smart route and they shut it down without, you know, running the risk of angering Nintendo for continuing an unlicensed event after what they were told in the email. But both Nintendo and Alan are saying that no, they had the green light, they're good to go. But we'll follow up on all of this with the Smash World Tour statement. Let's just get through Alan's. This is the first thing that really had me questioning this whole statement. I have been recently informed that the main hotel in San Antonio listed in the Smash World Tour Discord did not have any pre-existing block or any expectation of large groups this weekend. There was no block canceled, it simply never existed. I think this was the first piece of evidence that I saw that got disproved online on how they never booked the event or anything, and it was probably the first thing I actually put down in my Word document. So we got Techport Center Arena, downtown San Antonio. This is where they booked their event, even though Alan is claiming that the event was never booked, but I was able to get a link to an old web cache of the event, and no, it's all right here. It's booked. It's booked for that weekend. We got it all set right here. Ticket prices, when it's open, everything right here, set in stone. So that just throws this whole statement out the door right there. That just disproves that entirely. So whenever he's getting disproved this early on into his statement, it makes me question the legitimacy of the rest of it, even though he does provide screenshots. But we'll get to that. Okay, so Smash World Tour is in communication with Nintendo, and they're told they can continue. If they were confused with the mixed messages from the email versus verbal conversation, then why didn't they just ask for clarification? Just shoot an email back. Nintendo reps work hard. I guarantee you they would have responded to the email over the holiday weekend. I promise you that they would have reiterated that while they could not officially approve of the event or issue a license, that they would not take action against it. I read a little bit of the Smash World Tour statement, and they bring up a counter argument to that claim. That is why I read it. So keep that in your brain. See right here, this is where he makes a claim that he's not taking a specific stance on what he think actually happened, but at the same time he keeps sliding little bits and pieces of evidence to try and nudge you to, yeah, no, that's exactly what he thinks happened. So Smash World Tour leadership, Justin and Video Game Boot Camp, absolutely knew from the beginning there was a snowball's chance of getting a license agreement, and from the moment they launched Smash World Tour in 2020, they were prepared to get shut down. I do not know how they were paying for it or what revenue they expected to make back on it to make the expenses worth it. I am making no claims that they did not intend on running Smash World Tour 2022, even though you said earlier that they didn't even book the event. I am simply pointing out their own words and available information for many, many different inconsistencies behind the curtain. So he's trying to kind of hint at that maybe they launched this whole thing knowing damn well it's not going to go off the ground, just so that they could purposely sink it and then just throw shade towards Nintendo and Panda. This is when he directly talks to the public. You were lied, and your goodwill is being both weaponized and abused. Smash World Tour leadership juxtaposed their entire relationship with Nintendo against actions they claim I took. Actions which, by the way, are completely irrelevant to them getting shut down or Nintendo's behavior. How is me telling tournament officials that Smash World Tour would most likely not receive a license agreement prove any sort of action undermining Smash World Tour's relationship with Nintendo? And then he goes on to claim that he has never done anything to try and harm Smash World Tour in any way or sabotage its business efforts, license efforts, or otherwise. And then we go back to Video Game Boot Camp. You know, they started up Smash World Tour because of Justin. He says right here, I've defended Video Game Boot Camp behind closed doors more times than I can count. I even had been asking Nintendo for months to please consider issuing a license to Video Game Boot Camp. And he goes on to say that he told a countless number of people that he didn't feel Smash World Tour was a competitor to the Panda Cup, and that he's actually like pro of it succeeding succeeding and doing well. He even encouraged his own players to go participate in the Smash World Tour 2021 to bring in more attendance, and he is right about that. A Panda player did win the Smash World Tour circuit in 2021. I think it was Plup. I think he was with Panda at the time. I think he's the one that won it. So yeah, you can at least back that statement up that they had players going to Smash World Tour. But the biggest piece of evidence that he goes to throw out, that they had zero intention of having Smash World Tour shut down, that they like negotiated and they moved their own event's date. That way Smash World Tour could have the date they wanted. And they bring it up here in these screenshots on how they're negotiating to have Smash World Tour's date swapped around with other things regarding Beyond the Summit. Like, the damning statement he puts out on how he doesn't want them shut down is, "We moved our finale to the weekend before Christmas, a historically terrible date for travel and events because Smash World Tour took our finale date after we placed a hold for the date on the Smash calendar. We moved for them. If we really wanted to shut them down, knowing for sure that there would be no Smash World Tour 2022, then why would we move to a worse date? It makes no sense." And I'm not going to be giving a counter argument to all of his statements. I'm just going over what I thought was really important pieces that he used to argue. I imagine once we start getting into like Twitter threads and other individuals in this whole situation, they're probably going to have their own little bullet points from some of the things I read off. But I'm just trying to get everybody here kind of up to speed, because I highly doubt all of you want to read this 32-page statement like I did. And this is, I might have brought it back up earlier, but I'm going to reiterate it again. "We have known since day one that the biggest risk to the Panda Cup would be if the Smash World Tour gets shut down. We've known that if that ever happened, then Panda would be caught in the explosion as a bystander, simply due to our partnership with Nintendo. They saw this as a possibility coming down the line," and he's saying that they've done everything they can to avoid this from happening. Then he brings a follow-up argument to that by saying, "Why would I want Smash World Tour to be shut down when I knew that would be the biggest risk and the harm to the Panda Cup? I do not have any theories as to why Smash World Tour's leadership team decided to drag me personally into their statement. I do not know why they tried to create a false equivalency to convince the public I had anything to do with their situation. One thing I do know is the Smash World Tour leadership team stood to gain the most out of anyone by tarnishing Panda's reputation and dragging the Panda Cup down." This is where I kind of want to throw an argument into it. How do they gain by shutting themselves down? Like, maybe even if we're going to take what you say true, that it was like some tag team thing where they coordinated to have Panda be brought down by having Smash World Tour shut down. It's like, cool, we got Panda down. Well, now what? Cool, we also don't have our own event. Like, nobody benefits from this. And then in this last paragraph of this point, he just like personally calls out Smash World Tour leadership. But the big bold statement of that whole thing is, "You do not and will never deserve the position of community dominance that you keep clawing for." So he's claiming that they work together to have Panda Cup shut down by having themselves shut down because they want community dominance. They want to be top dog in the Smash deal. They want Panda out of the picture. They're trying to paint Panda as this big bad monster when Panda had nothing to do with anything that happened to either of them, and it was of their own doing for not going by with what Nintendo told them to, or didn't tell them because Nintendo told them. Because on one hand they're told, "No, you're fine, you can continue unlicensed," then be follow-up told by, "Yeah, unlicensed things are a thing of the past and there's being changes made now." So conflicting thing on Nintendo's part. We will get back to that whenever we get to Smash World Tour's statement on this whole deal. I'm just kind of rambling on. I feel like Charlie Kelly from It's Always Sunny whenever he's doing his whole Pepe Sylvia rant. I've been chugging along to this thing for like 3 hours now. I've been reading back and forth on all this. The Beyond the Summit thing. Okay, I talked about this in a prior video on how there were claims that Alan himself personally tried strong-arming Beyond the Summit by threatening to get Nintendo to go after them unless they complied with what Alan wanted, the deal he wanted. And this is where he's trying to disprove all of that. I guess we'll start with who he reached out to with Beyond the Summit. So he reaches out to this guy named Ken Chen, aka Hotbid. We have him pulled up on Twitter because we're going to be going through his tweets later, because he is rapid-firing retorts to all of this. So he begins it by saying he tried reaching out with a couple of tournament organizers with packages to like come to Panda and whatnot, but you know, they were already with Beyond the Summit because Beyond the Summit was the biggest thing for that at the time. He's trying to work a deal out to which they can both benefit from it because he wants tournament organizers for Panda since he's finally got it greenlit by Nintendo and he's trying to get it more off the ground. Smash World Tour claims that I targeted Beyond the Summit events that already had deals made, wanting to poach the broadcast rights from Beyond the Summit. They claim that I wanted them for free and directly threatened Beyond the Summit with Nintendo action if they did not comply. And then he goes to say, The people he reached out to at first say they're already with Beyond the Summit, brings it right up here in this screenshot. So this leads him to his conversation with Ken, and this is where his side of the story really comes into play here. I'm trying to highlight the parts that like paints himself in a better light in the whole situation. I went into the conversation with Ken loaded with ideas, around 4 to 5, of different ways we could accomplish our goals while collaborating with Beyond the Summit, ranging from making a jointly owned channel where the revenue went to Beyond the Summit, to doing a side stream where we'd give them all the revenue from our channel. We wanted to build a circuit that could be collaborative alongside them wherever they were, and why wouldn't I? Beyond the Summit is a pillar of the community and sets new standards for high quality production in Smash all the time. So if we could both forge a relationship that accomplished both of our goals, then we'd both stand to win. I was met with, in the simplest terms, stonewalling by Ken, rejection after rejection, no other ideas or possibilities brought up. Nothing I could say was possible, and there was no alternatives suggested. Just Ken raising his voice at me and being mad that I would even dare to suggest half the things I did. So that first call doesn't go well, so he does go to Nintendo, but this is why he goes to Nintendo. He says he went to Nintendo to brainstorm about working with Beyond the Summit before he has his second call with Ken. And this is the screenshot he's using to claim that he did not strong-arm Ken with Nintendo. He brought them up, but he did not strong-arm Ken. Here we go. I'll just go straight to the part. So Ken, I put my head together with Nintendo over the weekend, and we're trying to figure out some things that could work. So he brings up Nintendo, and then Ken says, that's great, happy to talk to them. And that's basically the extent of Nintendo getting involved on Alan's part. We have yet to see what Ken's whole retort to this is. That's what really has me interested about this, is how everybody's going to try and dissect this and break it down being false whenever we're done reading it. And here's a screenshot from Smash World Tour's statement. They had very little motivation to give up the broadcast rights for free, which Alan says he did not attempt to get them for free. After BTS held firm, CEO of Panda warned that they would get Nintendo directly involved, to which, as we saw from here, from Alan's point of view, he did not get them involved in the form of strong-arming. It was just to work together with them on a deal that they would both benefit from, according to Alan. All right, now we're on to the second conversation. This is kind of where it gets a little spicy. So he goes back to Ken, and more stonewalling. He's shooting down all of Alan's suggestions. But then this is what comes up that really piqued my interest. Between the two calls, a legal issue was flagged by someone else that had, and currently still has, significant implications for the revenue of most major events in the community. And by adamantly refusing to do anything with any other third party, not just us, in any way, shape, or form, Ken would be forcing scrutiny of this legal issue to escalate. Now this had me wondering what legal issue, but Alan goes on to say that he's not expanding on the legal issue because even though I'm leaving, I still don't want to hurt the community. Smash doesn't deserve that. And I guess this whole legal issue would just be opening up a giant can of worms, and it would be bad for the entire Smash community. Alan's just trying to work a way they could both work together without quote unquote opening up that can of worms. But then I guess Ken just goes full rage mode and just says let it happen, let the can of worms open, actively embracing the idea of legal trouble that could only end badly for the community. And then in bold, Ken was willing to jeopardize the entire Smash community with reckless abandon, and it would have happened had I not figured out how to stop the escalation without him. I do want to bring up this screenshot really quick. I don't know who the hell Alan is talking about with. That's the issue with, you know, not wanting to dox people. They have to blur out the parties involved in the conversation. For all I know, this could be just Alan's alt account. I really don't know. I mean, it's dated for March 26th, but maybe the man really planned ahead. Once this 32-page statement came out, it's just like, I've been on Team Smash World Tour, you know, shooting down Panda, whatever. But now that Alan has brought his statement, the playing field has evened to where now it's like, okay, this is what Alan says, this is what other people say. We're at that level now. So this is not just going to be me shitting on Alan and just like taking everything he says with a grain of salt. He did a pretty decent job bringing this to light. I'm not taking his side though. I am just not putting doubt on what he is putting out. We're only going to start doing that when we see any counter arguments towards his statement once we're done reading it. I literally have no idea how long this video is going to be. This is going to be a mess for me. I'm just glad I got my Game Awards voting video out for tonight, because there's no way in hell I'm not even going to get done with this tonight. This is going to be wild, but man, this is fun. I feel like I'm doing like a report for journalism class again. So Alan's just trying his damnedest to just get Alan to, you know, why won't you work with me? And he says he raised his voice at him and he regrets doing it, but that he did indeed yell at Ken about it. This is Ken's retort. Near the end of the hour and a half call, he finally reveals to me that they had already sold sponsorships across Beyond the Summit streams in 2022, and that's why none of the concepts I put forward worked, because it may impact the sponsored deal. So that's why he can't reach any deal with Ken. They already have deals for sponsorships. So what he says is he ends that conversation with Ken politely, and then Ken just retorts by saying, well, you were kind of hostile. And then we get to this. I really have no idea how I missed highlighting some of this. Smash World Tour leadership claims that I threatened to shut down Beyond the Summit's 2023 operations. I believe they were referring to this particular interaction in that second call that I remember distinctly because of how pedantic and bizarre it was. But this is my issue though. This is his own like self-written transcript. Does he have like an audio recording that he's typing this down, or is he just typing this from memory? Because we're taking this 100% of what he is saying Ken said. This isn't like a transcript a third party wrote down. No, this is his own. This is what he said happened. And I don't know how much of this we can take with real value because it's only his perspective. But anyway, basically what he's saying is, so he wants to give a multi-year deal with Beyond the Summit with the Panda Cup. So every time they stream, they'd hire Beyond the Summit and they'd get 40,000. And then Ken's like, why don't you just do this for 2023 for other events, because it's a really good deal, and just forget about 2022 because, you know, those are our events. But then Alan's like, he's like, are you sure though? Because every event we offer this to is going to go with us over you. Ken's like, yeah, we know. He's like, yeah, but if they do that, Beyond the Summit's going to be making less money next year and the year after that if we keep doing it. And Ken's like, well, yeah. So he's trying to like pull him back in. Like, so if Beyond the Summit takes this contract with Panda Cup, you would make more money. And Ken's like, well, yeah, we might. Then Alan's like, why don't you want to make more money? And then Ken's like, well, that's not what we want. And that's what he says. People are referring to them as them trying to shut down Beyond the Summit for next year. It's just them trying to rope them into a deal to where they would both benefit. As I said, this is entirely from Alan's perspective. I 100% imagine Ken has a counter argument to that on his Twitter. So he's still really head set on trying to like work with Beyond the Summit. So he goes back to the drawing board to where he can work together with Beyond the Summit in a way that avoids this legal issue that I brought up earlier that they can't go into detail on, but it would be bad for everybody. So he tries reaching out to Ken on how it's like, hey, I got this new deal. We can all work together. No legal trouble at all. And he's just getting ghosted by Ken. So he tries reaching out to other people from Beyond the Summit, and he keeps getting ghosted by them as well. And here's a good screenshot of him talking about his second call with Ken to somebody else at Panda. So any sort of deal where they aren't the mainstream is a no. They would not sell us the rebroadcast rights. Beyond the Summit has an overarching strategy with the Smash community that is incongruous with any strategy we put forward, and there is no deal we can make with them that will make them happy unless they are the stream for these events in 2022. So the way he's painting it is like, no, we're not trying to strong arm them. We're trying to work together with them. But from their angle, they want to be the top dog for this kind of stuff. So that's why they're refusing to work with Panda on this. That's where Alan's coming from. But apparently, though, they did end up working with Beyond the Summit multiple times, and it went well, everything got paid. And then he gives a personal note to Beyond the Summit to where he's talking about, look, I know I had a bad rap with Ken. That went shit. I had no ill intention with my conversation with Ken. Perception is what truly matters. I will own up to that publicly, and I truly apologize to the Beyond the Summit staff, except for Ken. He's throwing shade at Ken. That my conversation with him was perceived in the manner it was. I wish you accepted any of my multiple attempts to make peace, explain myself, or apologize, but I hope you now understand that I have not now or nor have ever had any intent of harming you or sicking Nintendo on you. So that's where he's coming at. I tried working with you guys. I didn't try getting Nintendo on you. I apologize if it was perceived in that manner. Ken screwed this all over. It's all on Ken. That's what he's saying. Go down just a little bit to this next one. This is another bullet point that really got me. Along with Smash World Tour, Beyond the Summit stands to gain quite a bit by taking Panda and the Panda Cup down. Well, Panda and Panda Cup, they've gone down. Like, I know they've delayed it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it just got canceled at this point. But here's the thing. Smash World Tour, that's still down. I don't see how Smash World Tour and Beyond the Summit are gaining from this at all. Maybe they've got like a game plan for 2023, but I just don't know how they're gaining from this. They think of all the money they've lost on this ordeal of Smash World Tour canceling because of this. Many major events in 2023 that are normally streaming on Beyond the Summit have already confirmed to us that they'd stream on Panda's channels because the package we offered was better for them with upfront guaranteed sponsorships. And that's where that other angle of that coming from, with them strong arming them. They're trying to get the events from Beyond the Summit to go with Panda instead. And what he's saying here is that no, we went to them and we made them a better deal than Beyond the Summit had. The only reason we went to them was because Ken kept refusing us on day one. So we went to them and we just offered them a better deal. And then he has his personal little deal that he's talking to Beyond the Summit again. I looked the other way when I heard Ken was trying to get tournament officials to turn on us. I turned the other cheek when I found out Beyond the Summit was, okay, that they're talking about pulling a sponsorship from Panda. Despite all of that, I was still trying to work with you, extending olive branch after olive branch. And for what? For Beyond the Summit's current leadership, who again, I have never met or spoken to because Ken is no longer with Beyond the Summit, as far as I know. I'm pretty sure he's out and he's just going after them. He's like, so instead of like painting me as some boogeyman, you could have just talked to me instead. And Ken, even though he's no longer with Beyond the Summit, he's still trying to poison the well from afar. I imagine it's talking about with the tweets he's been putting out whenever this whole ordeal first shot off. I guess Ken was like right there front and center going, yeah, Panda, fuck those guys. They tried fucking us over and all this and that. So like I said, it's just a bunch of he said, she said. But now that screenshots are getting involved, maybe we can finally piece together what's actually true on all this. I do like that he threw this in, though. I truly believe that the people and staff at Beyond the Summit are not malicious and all of their misconceptions stem from Ken. In fact, I feel like a large number of misconceptions, even beyond the Summit, about my or Panda's intentions are due to Ken. So he's singling Ken out. He's not shitting on this company. I don't know if everything he's said up to this point is 100% accurate, but I can at least respect that he's singling out individuals and he's not shitting on a company that would technically be a competitor in this whole deal. It's a little bit of class with that. I think that's nice. It doesn't like strengthen his argument or anything. I just like to call out good character when I see it. All right, this is the big one with the strong arming, because the whole deal with the Beyond the Summit strong arming was, you know, they're trying to get events and whatever, but they're also trying to get the tournament organizers. They're trying to get them all to go over to Panda. So they get greenlit by Nintendo. They get their license. They're super happy. He's just ecstatic. He's just like going. He's booking, and he's like, all right, I gotta get tournament organizers like now. This is what he's saying. Things were moving so fast beyond the scenes. I was new to tournament organizer negotiation. It's a specific skill set unique from any other I found out, and I was overly excited to get things going. I know my intent was always to be honest and truthful, but with things changing so quickly, my passion overflowing, I may have given off the wrong impression to a handful in those early talks. For example, I heard at one point that when I made changes to my pitch based on feedback given to me by Tournament Organizer 1, and then talked to Tournament Organizer 2, Tournament Organizer 1 found out and felt that I had lied to them because I didn't have time yet to update them on the changes I made for them. So he's saying he's like, I'm getting painted in a bad image by these tournament organizers. They're saying I'm being sketchy on them. It's like, no, I'm just going too fast and I'm forgetting to get back on people whenever I'm changing the deal with other tournament organizers. Oh, wait a minute. No, hang on. Wait a minute. No, I apologize. How did I not highlight this? No, this is bad. Okay, I found it. I'm so sorry I didn't get to this. This is a big point I wanted to bring up. Like we said in a previous video on how the whole thought at the time was that Alan personally tried strong arming them by threatening to get Nintendo involved. And because of that whole oopsie doopsie, that Panda had to form its own little committee or whatever to deal with outside companies because of Alan's quote unquote fuck up. So this is Alan's take on it. Additionally, after we heard some wild rumors spreading from my one-on-one conversation with Ken, we did everything we could to dispel the rumors, and we internally decided to always speak with tournament organizers in groups of 3 to make sure we can corroborate anything said in case of misconceptions or misunderstandings. That has been our procedure for the last 4 to 5 months now. So he's like, yes, I had this one bad run-in with Ken. I tried to get things going good. It went south, so we tried doing something that would benefit us since we couldn't get a deal working out that would benefit both Beyond the Summit and Panda. And the aftermath of that whole thing is people are thinking we're strong arming them into doing our bidding by threatening to sick Nintendo on them, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to be having groups of 3 so we can all go, no, that didn't happen. This guy can all corroborate that statement. This is Alan's take on it, okay? I'm not saying this is what is true. This is just his take on it. This is all what I wanted. I just wanted to hear his response or answer or his take on like the many bullet points I have brought up over the thing. There is one thing that was not brought up in this though that was a really big thing of mine, was Nintendo was talking about the safety and well-being of their players and venue goers, even though it was shown that Panda was like trying to like follow the same exact procedures that Smash World Tour had established. But for some reason it was used against Smash World Tour when Panda itself was rocking it. Of course, that whole statement comes off from a tweet from one guy that was a part of one of those venues, so I don't know. It's not brought up, so it must not have been like the smoking gun that I think it is, that Nintendo was screwing them over. Back to where we were. He's all quick to the draw to work things out with these tournament organizers, but you know, they're used to getting screwed over by other deals, so they think they're getting screwed over by him, so whenever thing 1 hears something different than thing 2, they start to panic. So he's trying to work on that. So he starts slowing down. He learns how to approach these people in a more clear and concise manner. So there's no more misunderstandings or miscommunications. He's making like good promises. He's like, look, if this deal that I'm trying to work out with you, I will personally help finance it with my own money, to where if this goes south, you will be reimbursed for this deal going south. He's doing stuff like that. He's trying to go, there's no ambush. This is for real. Panda is legit. I am not trying to screw you over. And then apparently, according to him, all the feedback that he's received from tournament organizers has been positive. They didn't feel uncomfortable. According to him, everything was going well for them, and that he would have 2 other team members along with him in meetings with these people, and they would be sending him messages so that he could have more clear, concise statements put out for these guys, because they're just trying to make sure everything goes smooth sailing. He's trying to avoid the image of that he's strong arming these people. And according to him, that only 2 out of 14 events we spoke to declined joining us after the initial pitch. Every tournament organizer we've talked to has been polite and straightforward. And this is the thing we are definitely coming back to. There's an ongoing thread of tournament organizers actually giving their personal retort to this whole thing of he did not come off as like strong arming or threatening or unwelcoming to these people. Well, apparently there's a whole thread of them saying otherwise, even though he does provide his own screenshots of him talking to these people. Of course, we're not getting any responses in some of these. It's just a one-way thing of this. I'm not saying he's faking them, but they're just like precisely picked screenshots to like fit his argument. I'm only just questioning it just because of what's been coming out on Twitter from some of these tournament organizers personally. One final point towards a lack of motive to threaten events. The offer we gave most events was really good. They saved tons of money for infrastructure, all this other shit. We paid them this much, we're gonna pay them this much. We're helping them out with staff to get everything set up, film interviews, all this shit. We're just doing all the heavy lifting for these guys. It's a really good deal. So his whole thing on why he didn't like strong arm these people was, there's no reason to threaten someone to take a deal like that. It just doesn't make sense. He's like, we offered them such a good deal, why would we have to strong arm them into joining us? That's his whole argument on it. I think the reason why I'm not highlighting some of these is just because it's like by the end of it, the whole thing's going to be highlighted with some of these statements. In my talks with tournament organizers, I've reiterated many times to them that Panda does not want the full pie. We want 10% of a much bigger pie, where we all end up with more pie than otherwise. It's kind of like a rising tide floats all boats situation. At least I think that's what he's going on about. And he goes on to say, I didn't strong arm, threaten, or try to pressure anyone into joining us, and that anybody that thinks so, it's a misunderstanding, though we are going to see later how the other parties involved feel about this. And then we get down to Big Daddy Nintendo. Oh, and since we're on Nintendo, it's a thing I didn't bring up. It was probably back with the Beyond the Summit thing. An argument that Alan brought up was, Nintendo is a billion-dollar company. Why would anybody think we have the ability to just sick them on anybody? That's not a weapon we can even wield if we wanted to. It's like Excalibur. We're not worthy enough to have it. So basically, he's painting Nintendo in a good light here. They've spent more money on the Smash community to like save events this year than any other organization in the world outside of the Panda Cup. Anyone who thinks Nintendo only gave their blessing or gave us a license and a thumbs up has no idea how much they've done behind the scenes. See, I can't really say much on this because this is just his own personal backdoors thing with Nintendo, but this is where the good thing goes. He talks about working with Nintendo's challenging, you know, because we all know how Nintendo is with how their IPs are used. We're very all familiar with that, and that there's a lot of red tape when dealing with Nintendo. The design of the Panda Cup was to help simplify that process and made it much easier for events to obtain licenses, with or without Panda, within a reasonable time frame. Smash just never had any meaningful major commercial activity in it, and that's part of the problem, because if Smash never has that major commercial activity, then it'll never be able to sustain full-time careers for more than a handful of people, like the top dog streamers. He's trying to say is that if we can get everybody to come with us, then we can start getting all these other events licensed, whether or not they're with Panda or not. We're trying to just get all this red tape out of the way so we can bring more profits to these events and these players, make it much more better for the community. So this became the cornerstone of the Panda Cup. We take the red tape, the corporate limitations, the months and years of approvals in exchange for the rest of the community having freedom, keeping their identity while being able to do major commercial activity, helping to take events from barely breaking even to profitable. And then once again, they reiterate, we didn't want the whole pie and never have. And then he goes on to say that every single sponsor that they've signed said that they wouldn't come in if Nintendo wasn't supporting them in the way they were doing. They're getting everything set up for this big Panda Cup event, this big giant finale, all these sponsors and whatever. But you know, then they have to postpone this event. We talked about that whenever the CEO stepped down in the last video, and we said, yeah, this shit got like, they put that shit shit on layaway. This is what they're talking about, this whole big finale event. But then he goes back to this. It all went down, everything went to the shit thanks to the lies from Beyond the Summit and the Smash World Tour leadership team. Once again, painting them as the villains in this situation on how they tried bringing Panda down so that they could benefit from it, which we've yet to see the benefit of that. I imagine that's probably going to be a 2023 deal. You know, honestly, after reading through this wasn't as long as I thought. I think the issue was because whenever I was reading this the first time, I was stopping like every couple of lines just to like do my bullet points, and then I just realized that I'm basically just left noting this, and I should just read it myself. I don't want any like misconstruction on what Alan is saying whenever I rewrite it. Okay, so conclusion. He's always talking about how long he's been with the Smash community, how he's really committed and he loves this stuff, and then he's been trying to make this company because he's trying to make career opportunities with Panda. He's trying to say that he's just working to get Panda set up, and he's trying to like have it set up to where everybody benefits, this one big community that we're all going to benefit from now that we're all getting this license with Nintendo and everybody can work through us. And everything was going great, but after this whole Smash World Tour incident happened, it all went bad because everybody got one side of the coin, like he says here. But now the mob mentality has dragged me down to the point that even my closest friends can't defend me publicly without backlash. Well, I'm gonna just say me. I'll put myself on the spot. It's like, yeah, no, I heard one side of the story. I jumped to doing my video on it, talking about how Panda fucked him over. Nintendo cooperated. Smash World Tour, Beyond the Summit, they're the ones that got screwed over and all this. We didn't hear the other side of the story, but we're finally getting it now. Of course, you know, I wasn't just blindsidingly just shooting Panda down. I was like, well, we've got some evidence here, we've got some evidence here, we've got some evidence here. Again, one-sided evidence, but at the time it was the only evidence we had because they were taking so long with their response. But I can see now why it took so damn long, because this guy's been receiving like death threats and shit. He's had to like get him and his family out of his house because fucking community is batshit crazy and just can't let an L happen. They've got to like get real fucking personal with it and like go after these people. Like, yeah, sure, I'll do like my video on it talking about it, but I'm not like calling for like these people's deaths or anything. I'm just saying, man, what happened is shitty. You know, if that's even what happened, because now we've got his statement on it, and he's counter-arguing against a bunch of other statements we've brought up in prior videos, but we've yet to see the counter-argument to his counter-argument. So let's just go through his conclusion. That was actually the opening of my cliff notes that I wrote. Okay, so he's no longer the CEO of Panda, thanks to lies, falsehoods, and bandwagon character attacks. The lives of him and his family are at risk, brought that up. My team was harassed to the point of resigning, many in tears, and they may never have a chance to pursue a full-time career in Smash again. I imagine he's talking about all the people tweeting about jumping ship at Panda, but I'm gonna be honest, most of them seem like they were doing that as a fuck you to Panda rather than a thing for their own personal safety. If that's the parties he's talking about. Smash World Tournament leadership organized and coordinated a lie about the circumstances surrounding their status of license agreement, making up a villain to blame it all on and come out as the heroes on top. Past and present Beyond the Summit leadership chose to corroborate it publicly for unknown reasons, but definitely benefit from it as well. Again, the whole they're doing a double team on us, they're going to benefit from us going down. A former Beyond the Summit leader took every opportunity to stow on to obfuscate any efforts to come to an agreement, going so far as to dare legal action that would harm the community, on top of even threatening to revoke sponsorships from events that considered working with the Panda Cup. And then the goal of the Panda Cup was always about growing the entire Smash community and was never about my personal aspirations. Our model always shared revenue with everyone, even outside of Panda, including events, casters, players, production, staffing, and more. I do not want the same thing to happen to Beyond the Summit or Video Game Boot Camp or to anyone. Please do not harass any groups, do not dox anyone, and do not attack whomever you perceive to be the villain of the hour. Smash has to change. Smash has to be better than this. I've given almost 9 years of my life to serving this community. I've dedicated thousands of hours, worked every weekend, put aside starting a family, and stepped away from a successful career that took 10 years to achieve. I think my longest real vacation in 9 years was 1 week. And over those 9 years of Panda, I have never paid myself or taken a dime just to make Smash into a stable, growing community and a tier 1 esport I truly believed in. Money isn't why I did this. I started Panda and became a CEO for only one reason: to give players careers in a field they're truly passionate about, and I'm proud to say that I did that. But now I'm the villain, the greedy corporate pig that wants to line his own pockets. All over lies, false character attacks, and a concerted harassment campaign started from people who directly profit by destroying the careers of over 100 people from their own community. He's really hammering that down. It's like this was like planned to take him down. And then he gives his goodbye statement. Community was his life. He only wanted it to do good. Now he got fucked over. Okay, so quite the statement. Man really went into detail on here. I see why it took him a good while. There were a couple things in there that I had my counter arguments on, but honestly, at the end of the day, this is a giant I said this. Yes, he did provide screenshots, but it can come down to that whole cherry pick thing to like fit my argument. Like, you're not seeing the entire conversation at play. Like, screenshots of conversations can be great evidence, but whenever you're like blacking a bunch of shit out, you can just say whoever who is in any deal. So we're gonna have to see what everybody else says, because thank God other people are talking about this. I think his heart was in the right place on what he was trying to do. I'm just thinking some of his methods might have come off incredibly just like not intended at all what he was going for. Of course, he might not have been entirely in the right, because he says here he tried his damnedest to make sure the organizers they felt comfortable that they're not getting screwed over, but we've got a whole thread of them saying otherwise. Not to mention you have Ken, he's just saying that like a bunch of stuff that Alan says about Ken in this is a bunch of bullshit, and he brings his own counter arguments and his own screenshots. So this might be like a thing of we've got 9 people saying one guy did one thing, so the burden of proof is on the one guy, and that guy happens to be Alan in this. Like, he might even have to bring like a follow-up statement to this statement. So tune in next video. The community responds to Alan's statement, or whatever we're gonna call it. See you then.